You guys are back in the old school. Hey guys, I'm the Retro Reject, and I know what you're thinking. Well, it's about time you did another movie review. We've been waiting for so long. Yes, I know, reaction of me pretending to be the audience. I know I'm well long overdue for another one of the movie reviews, because judging from the views I've been getting from my Larry Boy movie review, you guys obviously want to see me do more of these. And you're probably thinking, oh great, are you doing Lion King 2, Simba's Pride? No, I'm doing something else, but hint hint, wink wink, it is going to be the next one. But the movie I'm doing today is Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Now, this movie was created by DreamWorks Animation as well as Aardman Animation. Now, at this point, Wallace and Gromit were pretty much well developed as characters because they've been in previous short films to this. Now, Wallace was just a simple guy who was a simple inventor, and then Gromit was just his trusty loyal beagle. But this was the first time the both of them were on the big screen, and boy was it a great movie. I remember loving it as a kid, and I still do love it today, because there are some things within this movie that still make me laugh, and there's some things that I actually never noticed before. Or it's not like the Larry Boy thing where as a little kid you're like, oh boy, I do love this film, but then as you get older, this wasn't as good as I remember it, but I'll make fun of it anyway. Now, before we get into reviewing this movie, there's one more person I like to acknowledge, and that's Peter Sallis. He is the person who voices Wallace, and boy gosh darn it, does he do a good job at it. He's funny and charming at the same time. But sadly, 2 years ago, he passed away. So, rest in peace, man. Now, of course, I do still love this movie, and I love the cast, and I love the score, I love the director, but of course I am going to be making jokes out of it. But these jokes are going to come from love. So without any further ado, let's get on into it! Okay, is this thing working? Please tell me it is. Oh, okay, good, hello, past Retro Reject. It is me, the Retro Reject from the future, and I came to give you a message. It turns out DreamWorks doesn't want you to have any fun when making this video. So, because basically every time you uploaded the video, this happened. So here's what I'm gonna do for you, past Retro Reject. Basically, for the scenes that you were planning on showing, just showing the actual footage, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna have to explain the scene. And hopefully, with that being out of the way, we can get this video onto YouTube. So I hope you understand, past Retro Reject. So actually, without any further ado, let's actually get on with the review. So the movie begins in classic Wallace and Gromit fashion with us in the living room looking at their family pictures together. And we actually learned so much from these photos, like the fact that Wallace actually had hair at one point in his life, and also the fact that Gromit actually went to college, and that these guys decided to frame an entire argument they had about Wallace leaving a family picture so that he could eat some cheese. So they break up, but then they make up shortly afterwards. But the movie really begins when we see some kind of unknown creature that's going to sneak into somebody's garden, which is protected by Auntie Pesto. Interested in not sleeping tonight? How about we pause this movie when that gnome's eyes turn red? But it turns out that little lawn gnome was just an alert so that it could wake up Wallace and Gromit to get them ready for their latest job, being the pest control. I have no words, I'm just admiring the beauty of stop-motion animation.
Back in the job, Gromit. Hang on, old chum. Reeling me, lad. To me. Gotcha, thieving monster.
You know it's actually kind of funny that us Americans consider a rabbit something that's like cute and cuddly, but England considers a rabbit something on the same level as a rat or a cockroach.
Okay, Past Retro Reject, it looks like I need to take over now. But really, it doesn't matter if the creature is cute or cuddly. These townspeople want their vegetables protected by Antipesto because they're trying to get ready for this giant vegetable competition. But luckily for Wallace and Gromit, they're humane in their methods of catching rabbits. But, of course, the downside of being humane is that you're going to run into a space problem.
But that doesn't matter right now. It's breakfast time!
Part it up, lad. I'm in the mood for food.
It's funny because he's fat!
Oh, wait. Now for a great big plate of
hamburger.
Now, before we go any further into this review, I'd just like to mention this guy puts pictures of his clients on his wall.
I mean, seriously, how would you like it if you stepped inside somebody's house and you just saw that everywhere on the walls there were these pictures of people's faces and their eyes, they were like directly connected into their security systems?
Now, let's just have a good look at some of these townspeople. Like, look at this guy's mustache. There's also Bald Hitler, Schoolhouse Rock Circulation Girl, Albert Einstein, Raj from Big Bang Theory, and Old Hipster, Kingpin from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Fred from Scooby-Doo, Stan from South Park, and finally Kenny from South Park. But in speaking of obsessed, it also turns out Gromit has a vegetable of his own that he's going to enter in the competition. But also, Wallace has another obsession.
Of course, Wallace has a cheese obsession. But luckily for Wallace, there's another trait to him that will help him out right now. He's actually a great inventor, and his latest invention is a machine called the Mind Manipulation O-Matic. Now, what this machine does, it's able to basically attach to your brain and then basically just pluck, like, certain things that you want taken out of your brain. Now, luckily, before Wallace can actually start up this machine and possibly risk brain alteration, he gets a call from the Duchess of Tottington Hall, whose name is, of course, Lady Toptington, and she calls them to tell them that she has a rabbit problem of her own and she wants them to solve it.
Stay right where you are, your ladyship, and we'll be with you in
Okay, that was actually a pretty good scream, but I wonder what it would be like if we added other screams to that.
Now, Wallace and Gromit do eventually arrive at Tottington Hall, and they just expect it's going to be another just quick get-in, get-out type mission, but they realize that this problem is a lot bigger than they imagined. And also another problem is that Lady Tottington's boyfriend, Victor, is also on the estate trying to solve the rabbit problem himself.
It's off to funny heaven for you, big ears.
Oh, so he loves guns. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be like 1,000 people outside my house protesting because of me reviewing this movie because it has this guy in it.
Luckily, the bunny doesn't actually get shot. He just ends up in Wallace's latest invention, the Bunny Vac 3000. And you can really see that Wallace has a very, very good knack at inventing.
And also trying to pick up women. But that happens a little bit later in this movie.
Now, despite Victor missing his shot, he still believes that he's good for Tottington.
There's no nonsense with Victor Quartermain. What you see is what you get.
So so, like the true idiot Victor is, he accidentally gets himself sucked up into the machine, in which he gets stuck near the nozzle of the Bunnyvac 3000, and then eventually Lady Tonkington ends up where both Wallace and Gromit are at, and of course Wallace instantly crushes on Lady Tonkington and tries to put on that good old Wallace charm that he has. And of course, realizing that they weren't going to get anywhere with sucking up Victor through the vacuum, they lifted him up and realized it was Victor. And so Victor was completely enraged by this, and knowing that his toupee was in the Bunnyvac, he asked them to get it out. But Wallace mistakens it as that he thinks he's talking about a hare, like, another word for a rabbit. So Victor reaches in the machine himself and pulls out a black rabbit.
Okay, that might be cute and all, but what's gonna happen to that rabbit when Victor realizes that's not his toupee?
Now, once Wallace and Gromit were finished with their job, Lady Tonkington questions them of what are they going to do with all the rabbits, because knowing that they're humane. And of course, Wallace and Gromit are starting to get a little bit worried because they already have a big storage problem with the rabbits. And Wallace comes up with a great idea. Well, great is kind of debatable.
The Bunnyvac to the mind manipulation-o-matic, we can brainwash the bunnies. Rabbit rehabilitation.
Yeah, you know, Wallace, that's actually a pretty good idea. But there's no doubt that PETA is still gonna say that you're a bad person for doing so. Man, I hate those guys. Hey, I love animals, but those guys take it to an extreme.
Well, come on, lad, what are you waiting for? Turn on the Bunnyvac. Full suction.
That's what she said.
And surprisingly, it actually works. Wallace is able to send mind waves to the rabbits to tell them to stop eating vegetables. Now, what could possibly go wrong?
A lot of things can go wrong. Like the fact that one of the rabbits accidentally gets sucked through the machine after Wallace carelessly leans back on his chair and then flicks the switch to press blow on the bunny vacuum, in which the rabbit gets sucked through the machine and gets stuck to the point in the mind manipulation-o-matic with the dome thing, and he gets stuck there. And this basically chaos happens, but luckily Gromit is able to smash the dome of the mind manipulation-o-matic to stop the process. But the weird thing about after this whole ordeal is that the rabbit was fully reformed. He didn't like vegetables anymore. So Wallace and Gromit decide to name him Hutch, and they go upstairs to celebrate for a cup of tea. But Hutch doesn't seem to be doing too well.
Can you tell who the were-rabbit's gonna be yet?
So, after a moment where Wallace becomes a bit more of a creep, we actually see how crazy this town is when they say goodnight to their vegetables.
Good night. Sweet sight.
And don't let the bed bugs bite.
Yo, geez, the creepy gnome again.
See, not even the priest is safe from this obsession with growing vegetables. And, wait a minute, is he blessing them with holy water?
I mean, hey, at least he's obsessed with the vegetables, and it's not other things.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Uh-oh, priest, it looks like Easter came early this year. Don't worry, you'll understand.
Jeez, that's like the second burp in the matter of like 10 seconds. Hey, Future Retro Reject, could you do a favor for me? Like, when you're editing this video, could you just, put a collage of, like, all the burp scenes that have, like, that same stock burp sound effect in, like, just one little video segment for me? Thank you.
And so the were-rabbit basically goes on a giant vegetable-eating rampage and eats almost every vegetable in town. And it's weird because by the next morning, Wallace and Gromit, they didn't receive any alerts from their clients about that their vegetables were being destroyed. All the lights were blinking, but they didn't get an alert. So what happens next is that there's a town meeting called to wonder what are they going to do about this were-rabbit.
This flipping vegetable competition.
Yeah, I know, I did the same joke again. But of course I know Wallace is bald and I didn't do it for him, but I'm probably not because he's a main character, so it just doesn't seem worth it for that.
Now, Victor, he wants to basically just hunt after the rabbit, but Lady Toptington thinks that they should give Wallace and Gromit another chance. But Victor, being the devil that he is, kind of questions how are they going to catch this giant rabbit.
With a big trap.
So with the vaguest answer that Wallace could possibly give, everybody is just cheering for him. So now I'm just asking myself, what is this big trap? It's a female rabbit costume.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense to use a female rabbit. I mean, a lot of people were attracted to Lola Bunny from Space Jam.
Very cheeky.
Jeez, are you trying to piss off everybody in the world here? Like, okay, first you pissed off the people who want stricter gun laws, and now you pissed off the animal rights activist, and now you're pissing off the feminist.
Ha ha! That's more like it, lad. How can we possibly fail now? You're a total knockout. Oh, oops.
But for some reason, when Wallace went back to go retrieve the costume, it takes him a very long time, even though Gromit calls out for him.
Oh, jeez, man, I didn't expect a jump scare in this. Wait a minute. Rabbits, they jump. I just made a pun and I didn't realize it.
Now with the were-rabbit on the run and basically Gromit being in the perfect position to catch this thing, despite Wallace not answering him when he was honking the horn, Gromit decides to take matters into his own hands, or paws in this case, to catch the were-rabbit himself.
You know, at first I felt actually really sad that this little lawn gnome got basically pulverized into little pieces, but I like to think it's that creepy lawn gnome from the beginning, so I feel a little bit better knowing that.
Unfortunately, even with all that effort, the giant rabbit gets away, leaving Gromit so close, but with no bone.
Oh, come on, Gromit. Just because he got away doesn't mean you have to push the self-destruct button.
But it turns out, after Gromit follows the tunnels the giant rabbit left behind, it leads them straight back to their house.
So once Gromit gets in the house, Wallace basically calls him out, saying that they should be working together as a team and not just go gallivanting off and doing whatever, because he thought Gromit just left him alone that night. But Gromit still continues on his mission following the paw prints and leads directly to the basement, and they find that Hutch has gone through a pretty strange transformation thanks to that experiment.
Knowing this, Wallace is actually very excited to know that they actually caught the were-rabbit, so he leaves Hutch in Gromit's hands. Pause. Man, that's the second time I did that. But anyway, Wallace goes to go tell Lady Toptington that they caught the were-rabbit, leaving Gromit to basically build this heavily fortified bunny cage to keep Hutch from escaping again. But as Gromit goes upstairs and locks the door, he actually discovers that the trail that he was following inside the house, it goes further than the basement. So he follows the trail, and they slowly turn from rabbit feet into human feet, and they end up straight in front of Wallace's door, and we learn the terrifying secret.
Oh my gosh. Those are a lot of pictures of cheese on the wall, man, and I thought it was creepy with Wallace hanging up pictures of his clients. Oh, and yeah, Wallace is actually the were-rabbit.
And with some reason to worry, it looks like the effects of the rabbit are starting to affect Wallace. And even worse news, Toptington takes him up to her secret vegetable garden.
Whew, is it getting hot in here? Because I don't know why, but I'm slightly feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
And even more bad news, Victor comes over and thinks that Tottington's cheating on him, but we don't care because he's a jerk.
Carol, the Sunday. Oh, just smell it, Wallace. Feel its silken flesh.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it the most sumptuous,
yes.
specimen you've ever...
Jeez, lay off the vegetables, woman! Listen, I know people can get a little bit comfortable with their vegetables, but you're taking it to a little bit of an extreme.
Honestly, I don't know what's got into you lately. Slow down, for pity's sake, you'll buckle me trunnion.
Yeah, of course it's Victor, the one who chopped down the tree to block Wallace and Gromit from getting home. He just tells Wallace to back off from Lady Tottington because he was there first and that he was just a basic commoner and you have no chance of being with the Duchess. But he doesn't want to leave it at that, just telling him that. He actually wants to fight Wallace for Lady Tottington's affection. I mean, to be honest, I would let the woman decide of who she wants to be with, but you do you, Victor.
Now, if you pause that moment in the right spot, you'll see that he has 2 eyes!
But of course, there's also a full moon. And of course, you know what that means. We get to see Wallace transform into the Were-Rabbit.
Oh man, would I like to see Were-Rabbit Wallace versus Ultra Shaggy? Man, who would win?
After Were-Rabbit Wallace removes the tree from the pathway and Gromit is able to escape, Victor now knows the secret that Wallace is the Were-Rabbit, so he decides to go to the priest to figure out how he can kill this thing. And of course, it's with a gold bullet.
Gold? Yes. 24 carat.
Oh, who am I kidding? That was actually a pretty good pun.
So the next morning, Gromit wants to tell Wallace that he's the Were-Rabbit, but after the nightly escapades, we find out that Wallace is a changed man.
What are you trying to say, lad?
You know, I actually never thought about it until now, but Gromit is probably the best animated dog ever. Because, you know, unlike other cartoons or even animated movies, which would most likely just have the dog talking, Gromit is just a regular, normal dog. I mean, yeah, sure, he's not your average dog, but he still walks around on his 4 legs, occasionally on his hind legs, but we've seen regular dogs do that. And despite him not saying anything, he still gets so much emotion, even in this film and even in the short films, and just he shows how much he cares about Wallace.
However, Wallace doesn't believe Gromit and thinks it's just the vegetable diet that's been causing the side effect of the rabbit ears.
The next thing you'll be saying is that, oh, Hutch is turning into me.
And with that snap, Gromit wiped out the entire human population so that animals could rule the world.
And people thought Sir Robbie from The Lion King had a stretchy neck. Hutch would beat her hands down. In this case, it would be a neck.
Oh dear.
Now Wallace realizes that he is in pretty big trouble, so he decides that he's going to rebuild the mind manipulation-o-matic so that they can reverse the process that happened between him and Hutch. But his mind has basically been reduced to a rabbit. But the one saving grace is now that Hutch has Wallace's mind, so now he's the one who's able to fix the machine, the mind manipulation-o-matic. But a stroke of unluckiness is that there's a knock at the door.
Oh, heck, I can't answer the door. Not like this.
Charming. I'm Wallace.
Okay, Hutch is hilarious in this movie, and it's not surprising that this guy is also voiced by Peter Sallis.
Geronimo!
Okay, let's just add the Native Americans onto the list of people that were pissing off in this movie. I mean, what's next? Okay, I actually don't know if that's insulting to Michael Bay or the Japanese. Let's just add the both of them up there.
And the person who was knocking at the door was Lady Talkington, and she came over to basically tell Wallace that she was disappointed in them, that they didn't actually catch the were-rabbit and it's actually still on the loose. And she proceeds to tell him that she hired Victor to kill the were-rabbit, so that ain't good for Wallace. And in even more bad news, there's another full moon. Like, geez, how many full moons are there in like 3 nights in a row? But he proceeds to transform into the were-rabbit right in front of her, but she doesn't seem to notice.
Okay, listen, I know this vegetable festival has been going on for like many years, but couldn't you just postpone this thing until there's not a giant were-rabbit running around? I mean, what's stopping you? Wait, okay, sorry for bringing up the idea.
And I'll give you a tinkle, shall I?
Can't we at least shake hands? Part as
It's
friends.
not very convenient at the moment. Thanks for coming by.
Hey guys, you want to hear a little bit of advice from your good old friend, the Retro Reject? Yeah, how about we call this a little bit of rejected advice? Alright, so your girlfriend just broke up with you at your own house, and she just walked out the door, and she's just heading on down her little pathway straight to her car, and she looks back at the house. Alright, here's what you should do.
And with time running out and Victor on his tail, Wallace puts all his trust into Gromit to help him.
Whoa, hold on a minute. What did he say? Could you say that again? Just one more time, just a little bit louder. Oh, he's saying your lordship. Oh, okay. That makes sense. You know, for the longest time I thought he was saying this.
Luckily, Gromit decides to put that female rabbit costume to good use, but it also leaves him to get exposed by Victor and to get caged up. And it also leaves at a loss because Victor also knows that were-rabbit Wallace would go to the vegetable competition.
The beast isn't actually dead yet.
The beast isn't actually dead, yes? Oops.
Thankfully, Gromit is a smart dog, and he doesn't want his master to get killed, so he triggers an alert to get Hutch to help him.
Yeah, scary gnome, kill it with fire!
So after Gromit triggers the gnome alert, it causes Hutch to go through that same process that Gromit and Wallace went through at the beginning of the movie, and Hutch is able to successfully get Gromit out of his cage. And meanwhile, back at the vegetable festival, Victor basically tells everybody that he's going to use their vegetables as bait to bring the were-rabbit out. And of course, one particular woman doesn't want her giant pumpkin to get eaten, and she tries to run away, but that causes were-rabbit Wallace to show up. And Victor attempts to take a shot at Wallace, but he misses because Gromit and Hutch come in with the anti-pesto minivan, and they use Gromit's giant watermelon that he had to sacrifice to lure were-rabbit Wallace away. Wait, now you would think that they're home free, but Victor is not the one who's willing to give up that easily. So he attempts to use the golden carrot trophy for the vegetable festival as a bullet, but Lady Tottington is not so eager about him using it.
Look, this is hardly the time. Give it to me.
And with Wallace wanting to protect Lady Tottington, he picks her up, and of course, you know what that means. We need to bring out the angry mob!
See, what did I tell you? He's trying to pick up women. Yeah, we might as well complete this little Beauty and the Beast type thing that's going on here with the female falling in love with the animal-like creature. And I know there's probably a couple of you out there who want me and Nala to be a thing. Well, and I know you're probably on your little computers right now and you're just drawing little fan art of me and her. Well, but I swear, if I see some fan art of us, feel free to show it to me at my new social media platforms right here. And also, with that in mind, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, whatever the heck you want to do, and maybe hit that little bell icon to get notified when the old school is back in session.
So we now end up in an actual literal dogfight between Gromit and Philip. Sorry I haven't mentioned his name before, he's not really that important.
No, get it away! You're just gonna show that to the little kids out there? Okay, even though this joke actually is pretty funny, may I mention that this movie is rated G? Yeah, what was the MPA thinking? I mean, this movie is filled with so many things that make this movie not G-rated. I mean, there's scary imagery, there's sexual innuendos, and now nudity?
And after a hilarious fight that happens between Gromit and Philip with their little planes while trying to go around Tottington Hall, it looks like Victor is caught up with Were-Rabbit Wallace and he's about to shoot him, but luckily Gromit comes into the nick of time to intercept the gold carrot bullet from hitting Wallace. But like any true joyous moment, somebody has to mess it up. And that's when Gromit accidentally lets go of the rope that he was holding onto in order for his plane to fly to high-five Were-Rabbit Wallace. And he starts going down back towards the ground, and Were-Rabbit Wallace, he makes the selfless sacrifice to save his best friend. And, of course, after that, basically Victor gets the cold hand slap of rejection by Lady Tottington, and Gromit dresses him up in the female rabbit costume and pushes him out to meet the full brute force of the angry mob. And then comes the saddest part in the movie, the death of Wallace. I mean, I feel like you just really need to watch the scene yourself, because it really is kind of a little bit heartbreaking. But, I mean, no, Wallace can't be dead! I mean, Peter Sallis lives for a good solid 12 years after this movie!
Lovely cheese, Gromit. Oh, don't forget the crackers.
But cheese?
Well, we might as well throw that detail onto the cheese commercials that we're making nowadays. Can provide you excellent nutrition. Can bring you back from the dead.
Gromit, you clever mutt. Well done, old pal. Poppy!
Wallace, you're a new.
Oh, whoops. Oh, thanks, lad.
So now we come to the conclusion of the movie where Wallace and Gromit help Lady Tottington turn her estate into a rabbit sanctuary. But wait a minute, aren't we missing some bunny?
And that was Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And there's probably obviously no surprise that I'm going to say I still love this movie. I loved it as a kid, and I still do love it now. It's definitely a movie that's meant for both kids and adults. And there's a lot of things that are going good for this movie. The cast, the comedy, the drama, the score. It's just absolutely amazing. And it doesn't surprise me that this movie actually won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film of the Year in 2005. But of course, this movie is not absolutely perfect. There are a couple flaws within this movie. One of them being that all the townspeople are just complete morons, and they are absolutely obsessed with this vegetable competition, even though there is a way they could have worked around it. The second thing is that, I did mention this in the review, I don't understand how this movie got a G rating. And the last thing is just, well, it depends on the type of person who's watching the movie, because there's certain comedic elements within this movie that in 2005 are funny, but within the modern audience, I really don't know which way people are going to react, because of course, there could be one side that are like, oh yeah, haha, man, that's funny. But then there's also the other side where they could just take it a completely different way and just take it to an absolute extreme and say that the movie's bad because of those things. And considering how weird our American society is today, I really can't say for sure how one person is going to react to this movie. But if you are just the kind of person who just wants to sit down and enjoy a movie about Wallace and Gromit, well, then this is it, because it is a real joyride that is kind of meant for all ages. And so yeah, that concludes the Wallace and Gromit and Curse of the Were-Rabbit movie review. And don't worry, next time, my next movie review will be Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, as I promised in my Lion King Copa theory I made, like at the beginning of my YouTube career. But until then, the old school is out!